I follow a lady on Instagram who is what's known as a mud larker. And she, when the tide is out on the Thames, goes and digs around in the dirt, essentially, and sees what comes to the surface. And some of the things that she has found are, years and years old, like centuries old. And it kind of reminded me of today's lesson of Scripture, and our theme that our centering object is beach glass, and how when you're on the beach, you kind of become like an archaeologist, and you're seeking out any markings or clues about that piece of glass or item that you find on the beach. And it can take a lot of time to figure out the truth behind it. Sometimes, like this lady that I follow on Instagram, you have to do a bit of research and put in the time. So this week, we acknowledge the power of truth-telling has a healing property. They're stories that have shaped our lives, leaving us without the ability to see who we truly are in the eyes of God, and leaving us without the ability to speak the truth of our stories of struggle. We often focus on the importance of recovery of mental health and reclaiming our sense of who we are and being able to proclaim new stories of redemptive stories of divine worth. So in case you have forgotten what the scripture is, it is the story of Jesus healing the two blind men who were following him and crying, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." And Jesus, of course, he asked them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this? Heal them." And they said, "Yes, Lord." And then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith, let it be done to you." And their eyes were opened. Then Jesus ordered them, "See that no one knows this." But they went away and spread the news about him throughout that district. And then, of course, after they had gone, there was a demoniac who was mute, who was brought to Jesus. And when that demon was cast out, the one who had been mute spoke, and the crowds were amazed and said, "Never has anything like this been seen in Israel." Truth-telling is healing. Stories are healing. But we have to be careful when we tell other people's stories. I think there is some caution when we read this particular lesson today. But there also is a piece of this story which is about liberation as well. As you think on this text this week, I want you to notice the agency or power that the disabled persons in this story have in the Gospel of Matthew. They aren't one-dimensional characters like so many of the other folks that Jesus comes into contact with. These two men followed Jesus before they were healed. They knew Jesus through means other than sight. I think they had prophetic vision. And it isn't until after that they're healed that they disobey Jesus by telling their story. And as scholar Wilson suggests, there's a certain irony here that presents itself, because the two men are, understood to represent discipleship far more effectively before they're healed than after they're healed, because of course they disobey. The men in this story, they couldn't be silent. They had to share with their community the wondrous thing that had occurred to them. And perhaps part of their healing was telling this truth. And their truth is bigger than this one instance. The healing narratives in the Gospel of Matthew represent a bigger truth. And the truth is that God in Jesus has come to heal all, to bring us all out of the shadows and into light. This is a story about individual healing as well as God's deliverance. Our stories, our lives, are tangled in the web of God's love. Our truth and our stories liberate us to connect to one another. This week is about mental health. Some of us have experienced pain and brokenness related to telling others the stories about us that create a persona that's not really true. Perhaps we were left without the ability to see who we truly are in the eyes of God. We are being invited to reclaim our sense of who we are, being able to see and hear anew, and then being able to proclaim the story of our divine worth about ourselves as part of our healing of our mind and spirit. I want to draw your attention back to the two people who were given sight. Did you pick up that they weren't able to keep quiet about what happened? Despite being told most sternly not to speak a word, they opened their mouth for all to hear. What would compel them to do so? Did their newfound sight overcome the stigma of their previous reality? Or did healing also carry a curing beyond eyesight and remove fear, stigma, and revulsion of self? I'm willing to lean into all of the above. Such a transformation occurred within them that they couldn't keep quiet about it. And this is often the way it is when folks have a new vision for their life, which is driven by healing one's brokenness. When that deep work progresses, many folks move away from seeing their mental health as a stigma to leveraging its power and gaining strength. We have some very powerful examples of this within the CAF. General Romeo Dallaire retired. Corporal Hans Poirier retired. Lieutenant Navy Stephen Tomlinson, Sergeant Rob Gagnon, and Master Corporal Natasha Dupuis are all members or retired members of the CAF who are warriors. They have overcome and adapted their life story. They have transformed chaos, pain, cancer, self-hatred and drug use, combat trauma, or even sexual abuse to find a new life that's not only good, but a powerful testimony of human resiliency. In many ways, these folks that I name trailblaze, showing others the way ahead when it comes to tackling mental illness. I think it's important for us to think about our health and well-being. Mental illness may be a part of us. It may be a part of the CAF community, but it doesn't own us, nor does it define us. We can take control of it, and through hard work, be healthy in mind, body, and spirit as the Creator intended. And yes, we might not be the same as we were before. But I think that is part of healing. And that transformation that comes in healing is you have to be different. You have to be new and recreated. I'll leave the links in the show notes for the folks that I've mentioned today. If you want to read a bit more about their stories, you can find information about them at Soldier On. So those are just a few of my thoughts around healing and mental health. I wish you a really great day and work on your resilience.